All right, so I love the tradition here. Aloha! I want you to take a minute and really think about why you're sitting in your seat. Did somebody invite you, a friend, a teacher, who recommended you take this class? Just pause and think about that. Chances are there was a friend or a relationship of someone who cared about you enough to say, you know what, there's an amazing class on campus. It's the largest class on campus, actually, that has people who want to mentor you and help you succeed. But it goes further than that. Not just why you're sitting in the seat for this class, but why are you even in this building or on this campus, in this state, in this country? All along your life, there was a friend, someone who loved you, someone cared about you, or maybe you just were prompted to be here, and you get to inspire other people around you. We're so connected. We're literally a network of God's children here on the earth to help one another. And so it's my greatest joy and blessing to share with you some of the tips that I've experienced and have helped me in my life and have helped me to, at 39 years old, be serving a service mission here with my husband and to be completely independently financially stable. We have 3 children that are living here with us, and we've taken them all over the world. We've seen exciting things. We've been able to serve orphans, as he mentioned, and it's my greatest joy that we continue to serve our whole lives. And it's because of the relationships of those that helped me and my family that we can be here. And I'm so grateful and honored for that. Literally every single day, miracles happen. Do you believe in that? Really? Chances are you're here because of a miracle. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about what these miracles happen and all of that. But I want to first show you a video of why relationships matter.
Relationship arrogance has been responsible for wiping out the population of countless cities of influence. The antidote? Developing relationships just because. The just because mindset requires you to build relationships without specific outcomes in mind. Effective mayors get that people are inherently valuable and don't determine whether to build a relationship based on whether they see a chance for immediate gain. They understand every person who enters their city can help them in ways they might not be able to see now. That, and they simply get a kick out of helping other people grow. Building relationships with a just because intention will cause the population of your city of influence to go through the roof for one very good reason. It's hard to resist someone who wants to get to know you just because.
All right, so just because we make friends, right? We get to know people in line at the cafeteria, in our classes, and then something happens, we find you have something in common. And then pretty soon that friend introduces you to your next boyfriend, who introduces you to your next, job employer, who introduces you to your next whatever, right? And it's those relationships that you started just because that are most meaningful sometimes in our lives. But what happens is when you transition into the business world, we feel like we can't create relationships just because anymore. We feel like we have to always have a sale at the end of that relationship, or we have to have a purpose that has a dollar sign attached, because that's how we make our economy grow, right? And our personal economy. And so I love what this video suggests. First of all, thanks to our friends at Corporate Alliance for producing the videos I'm showing today. Corporate Alliance is an organization in Utah and in some other areas that are absolutely committed to helping people build relationships with those they know, like, and trust to help them in their business and also in life, just to have great friends. And so, so back to the just because model versus, having a purpose-driven with a dollar sign at the end of it. I think that there's a really misconception in the business world. You show up at a networking event, and everyone passes out their business card, and then they say, okay, so when you have a house for sale, you call me. And it doesn't really work. I was going through a really difficult time, and our financial situation was difficult, And a friend of mine heard that we may be selling our home. Immediately, she started to rekindle that friendship, and every time she would talk to me, she would say, "Now are you going to sell your house?" And what did that do to me? It was really sour, because she didn't really care about my friendship. She just wanted the equity, or not the equity, the percentage of the sale of my house. And so actually when I told her, I'm not sure we are going to sell our house, and we're really grateful that we can stay in it right now, and she kind of got the picture, and I really haven't talked to her since. And every time she contacts me on Facebook, guess what happens? She has something she wants me to do for her. That is not really a fun friend to have. So back to why we're here. We're here to have reciprocal relationships in every aspect of our lives and to make a difference in this planet, right? And fulfill the mission we came here to serve. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is the power of an influencer that many of you will know from history books, Paul Revere. And I'm not awesome in my U.S. history, but from what I understand, with Brother Tanner's help, he is a patriot that we should all admire. And his success as being a patriot from the Boston area helped America be what it is today. He's famous for his famous ride to let the citizens and the influencers of his area know that they needed to form the militia so that they would be protected when the Redcoats were coming. So let's watch this video.
We all know the story of the night Paul Revere single-handedly warned the countryside that the British were coming. Or do we? If Revere himself knew of his reputation as the lone rider burning up New England with his message, he would have been astonished. The fact is that he was only able to accomplish what he did that night because he was able to call on the talents and resources of the people inside the city of influence. For instance, who set the signal from the Old North Church? As Boston's tallest building, the steeple of the church was the ideal place to send the signal to the opposite shore, but its minister was fiercely loyal to the king. Fortunately, Paul was good friends with the caretakers, and they agreed to perform the dangerous task. Climbing up the 154 creaky steps, they lit the lanterns in the dark and held them out the window. And where did the horse come from? On the docks of the Charleston, Revere was met by another group of friends who had Deacon John Larkin's mare, Brown Beauty, waiting for him. Chosen for her strength and speed, she was the reason Paul was able to escape a British patrol he met on his journey. But he did warn all the people, right? Paul was able to warn all the towns he passed through, but it wasn't by stopping at every farm along the way. Because he already knew the town leaders, he simply sought them out and let them trigger the shots or bells or other alarm systems that would gather the militias. All right, but he did get the message to Concord, didn't he? Actually, Paul Revere was captured before he reached Concord. On his way to Concord, he met a man named Dr. Samuel Prescott, returning from courting his sweetheart. Paul enlisted his aid, and when they were ambushed by a patrol of British soldiers, it was Samuel Prescott who escaped and went on to complete Revere's mission to Concord. All opportunities can be traced back to a relationship source. Because Paul Revere built the quantity and quality of relationships inside a city of influence throughout his life, when his need was great, he had a host of friends to assist him. Business is about relationships. Welcome to the Relationship Revolution.
So how did Paul nurture those relationships, and why were those people able to help him out? Probably because he showed up to serve them. So first of all, he had an objective. He knew what his purpose was, what he needed to accomplish, and then he enlisted the most influential people he could think of. So I want you to think a minute about what's your purpose, and why does it even matter to network with anybody? If you know that you have a project you need to fulfill, or a goal, you want a job at the end of your graduation, that's a purpose, right? So define that very clearly and seek in your interactions with others to define that purpose. Paul knew what he wanted to accomplish, and then he enlisted the influencers. How do you get those influencers? That's what we're going to talk about. So how do I advance these? Okay. So the first thing, is, again, is define your purpose. Why are you here? You know, the famous Alice in Wonderland, Cheshire Cat, where are you going, Alice? And she's like, I don't know. Well, if you don't know, it doesn't matter where you're going, right? And nobody will care if you don't. It's true. How many people in your life have shown up at a restaurant and they're like, I don't know, you order for me, or it doesn't matter who my roommates are, I just want a place to live. You know, that doesn't work. You know, you honestly need to know the kind of people you want to live with, the kind of restaurant, the kind of food, just simple, simple things. If you always are relying on other people to make your decisions, you're not going to have a very custom fit, fun life. All right. So the other thing, I'm pretty sure Paul did this, and many of you are doing this already, is you're showing up to serve. And how does that look like? You know, what does that mean to you? Well, it means that you're authentic, that you truly care about benefiting those around you, that when you interact with others, you ask them how they were doing. You ask about their family, how they were feeling, what's going on in their life. What do they need help with? Do you know what their purpose is? What are their dreams? When you act like that in relationships, what happens? People feel important. They feel special. They want to be your friend. They want to be around you. So, sincerely interested is that, asking the questions that you need. Now, being enthusiastic comes in lots of different forms for different people. A lot of times it's just being excited and giving them the positive affirmation of, yes, I believe in you. I know that you can do it. Those of you who are in my class know that I'm a big fan of Jack Canfield and his book Success Principles. We're studying it this year. But if you haven't already heard of Jack Canfield, he's the one that did the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And his book, it is a really weighty book. But once you dig in, you'll notice that there's so many wonderful gems that will help you throughout your life. So I highly recommend it. The thing that he really emphasizes in that book is that success is 80% mindset. And I really believe that, not just in your own life, but when you transfer that over to other people, it makes a big difference. When I started to become a distributor for a network marketing company, I was kind of scared because I'd always been an entrepreneur. I'd always kind of set my own parameters of how I wanted to create my own income and all of that. Well, suddenly I'm a distributor for another company, and I wasn't really sure that I could fit their business model and be successful. And one of my dearest friends in a business setting knew that I was going to on this venture. And I told her my financial goal, and I said it was within 1 year. And she just looked at me straight in the eyes, and she says, I know you can do it. And sorry, I get emotional because when you have somebody in your life who says, I know you can do it, it means the world to you. Even if it's just one person. And we all know that we have a loving Heavenly Father who knows we can do anything. And sometimes we forget to go to Him to get that affirmation. And we forget that when we get on our knees, that we'll get the greatest peace of the whole world. But it's real nice to have friends here too. All right, so do you have good news to share? This sounds something really basic, but people like to be around the good news people. If you have something happy in your life, good news, have it in your heart, have it, in your soul, because when it's your turn to share something good, they're going to want to hear it. But we always are, repelled by people who have negative news, or they're complaining about their health or their finances or something. And so if you have good news, there's something that communicates joy, that you're grateful and you're excited to be in the event or the experience or sharing happy things. If you look at my Twitter feed, Startup Princess is my Twitter feed, or if you look on my Facebook, you'll see generally very positive things. If I find myself being ever negative or saying something that is maybe sad or whatever, I just delete it because it doesn't help anyone. It just doesn't communicate joy. And I'm here on this planet to spread joy. And I hope that we can all do that. I mean, yes, I have my down days, but why do I need to share it with my 200,000 followers? Honestly. It doesn't do anybody good. And I want them to know that there is something to look forward to, and there is hope. On that note, share the good that other people are doing, too. So if you see other people sharing good news, make sure that you're communicating that to others. I brag on my friends all the time. One of my best friends, Tiffany Peterson, who has been my mentor, her website is the lighthouseprinciples.com if you want to check her out. She is speaking at eBay today. That is pretty dang awesome. And so on Facebook, she didn't say anything about her speaking gig at eBay. So I went on her Facebook and I bragged about her and I'm like, I'm so excited for you to speak at eBay. And then all her friends started like commenting, wow, that's so neat to get a paid speaking gig for eBay. I think that's corporate, big time, So I just like to let people know the good things. Or if I see someone in press or somebody has been, coming out with a new product or service, I like to share that online or in person. And if I'm with them in a room, I let people know, have you heard that so-and-so is doing this and so-and-so is doing this? That is so fun. They feel like $1 million when you brag on them. The other thing is keep in touch. I mean, it's so obvious, but with social media and with email, texting, cell phones, we have no excuse anymore, right? Instagram, all those things. And so even if I'm not in touch every day with my best friends, they know how to get a hold of me, but my network of influence is so large and so expanding, and I get to work with them and share with them in so many different ways, and they with me. And it's super fun because I have people all over the world that we get to touch base with. But it's being really consistent and reaching out and saying those happy birthdays and inviting them to lunch or to an event. And if you see them at a retreat or a conference, like really make an effort, like schedule time to go spend time with them, go to lunch, those kinds of things. So creating an opportunity to getting to know others is absolutely critical. I really appreciate it when someone says, have you experienced my spa? Would you like to come and try it? You better believe it. I would be their #1 client, right? Have you experienced this new restaurant when we go together? Have you, any interest in attending this event today? Would you like to go with me? When you do something memorable with those that you're trying to do business with or you're trying to get to know, or a potential mentor or employer, you reach out to them and create something memorable, a gift, an experience, sharing a sample or service, something like that, you stand out. And one of the things that's really interesting about my company Startup Princess is that when I started it, I literally was trying to think of something that would communicate just mom entrepreneurs, right? Well, thank goodness that URL was taken, because momentrepreneurs.com is really boring, and it doesn't differentiate myself in any way. And so I just kept thinking of different words I wanted to communicate, and I wanted to communicate that we were for startups and that we were for women. So you just start, thinking about different things. And myself, my maiden name is King. And at the time, I was pitching like $1.5 million for funding to start a princess retail concept. And I really was passionate about that. And so I started a blog, and I thought, oh, well, this is perfect. Startup, princess, that's me, but it's also my community of other women who are doing this. But the interesting thing is, by declaring myself a startup princess, I immediately alienated like corporate America women. And they're like, I don't want anything to do with that. And that's fine, because there's so many groups already for corporate America women, and that wasn't my niche. My niche was stay-at-home moms who want to do startups and happy online. And I would never have guessed that it would grow into the network it is today. But we stood out, we differentiated ourselves. I show up at networking events with magic wands, pass them out, and we have a very recognizable brand. And we've been in Forbes and so many different things because our name is catchy. So what's catchy about you? What's going to differentiate you when you go to that employer? One of the reasons why I stood out in the business plan competitions was because I was a theater grad student and my business plan was pink, okay? They were so sick of the biotech ideas, they're like, hallelujah, there's somebody doing something different. Really. So what are you doing different that will help you to have that edge? And so even though I'm not trying to be like so edgy or anything like that. I'm just being me. I'm just doing what I love and not making any apologies for it. So if I like stuff that's princess, that's okay. I like to be a girl. If you don't want to be feminine, that's okay. You don't have to be in my group. It doesn't matter, you know. But those who love to dream and want to make their wishes come true gravitate to our group. And we're doing pretty dang good if we have 200,000 people, right? So I think that you just want to really figure out what is your niche in life and business, and then go for it. Creating opportunities around those things is the key. So remember that your passion sells. Whenever you're engaging in these relationships with others, it's because you're so enthusiastic that they are gravitating to you. If I don't love what I'm doing, they're going to see that. They're going to know that, well, she's not really into that. But if I say, you know what, this has really changed my life, and I'm so excited to share it with you too, then they're like, oh, thanks. And they look at it as an opportunity for them. And then I don't even have to ask them for the sale, because usually they're asking me, well, how do I get some of that for myself? And in my experience, in all the opportunities that I've had, it's usually just by sharing the good things and the exciting things that people do want to know. Well, how can I learn more about that? Or what can I do to have that experience for myself? Or how can I move forward? And when we generally show up and love those around us and help them, it's easy every single time. One of the things that my husband's super good at is he had a home theater business for many years, and he would go he'd bring like a TV, for example, that needed to be fixed or repaired, and then he would bring the repair group, you know, free pizza or donuts or some treat, right? And so he's creating you know, kind of a fun thing for them to have a little bit of food with their work, and then it reminds them every time they see Matt that he's the guy that gave them the pizza, the donuts, or whatever. And he would keep so many candy bars and stuff in his car that often I'm like, they're gonna melt. But he would give them out all the time to people, and people love it. Like, when's the last time you bought yourself a Snickers bar? Like, never. But if someone gives it to you and gives you permission to eat it, you're like, that guy is awesome. You know what I mean? And so you just create those fun relationships, and he's passionate about what he does, and then they want to help him be successful. And then he's building that relationship. They'll always remember him. And Matt has won many awards for being someone that is genuine and successful in business because of the relationships he's been built with others. One thing that I don't know that we do a lot in business or in life is evaluate how we're doing. You know, I am not the best listener. I'm a great talker, but I am not the best listener. And so that's something that I get to work on. And we know that through our prayers and through scripture study and all of that, that we can take our weaknesses and make them strengths. So, you know, what I want to do is I really want to figure out, okay, what can I do on a weekly or daily basis to improve in my listening skills? And you know, they say we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? And so it's one thing to excel as a presenter or as a communicator, but we rarely ever go to training on how to listen, ever. And so I want to really work on that. And I want to be a better listener, because if I become a better listener, what's going to happen? I'm going to show up more powerfully for my family, for my friends, and I'm going to be able to be more committed to those around me, because I'll understand better what they're going through, because I'm going to be hearing with more intent and with more purpose and with, you know, more desire. Okay, we have one more video.
Relationship arrogance means prioritizing relationships based on a forecasted return on investment. Refusing to build relationships with others because you can't see an immediate return is dangerous, because some of the greatest opportunities often come from the least likely of sources. Not so long ago, in a land called Philadelphia, Kim Aviles arrived at a hotel gallery. She noticed a woman sitting alone and introduced herself. The woman's name was Linda. Her daughter was getting married. Kim invited her over to check out the space at the Philadelphia Marriott where she worked. Kim also introduced Linda to some of the other guests. They whispered, "Why are you talking to that lady? What type of wedding would that be? Look at the way she's dressed." Kim replied, "Whatever." The next day, Kim asked the hotel wedding coordinator to show Linda around. She went down to greet her, took one look, turned around, and came right back. "Are you kidding me? She doesn't have the money to hold anything here." Kim went down to greet Linda herself. As they talked about her needs for the wedding, they turned out to be the following: police escort to the family and guest receptions, 45 security boxes for jewelry at the hotel, 300 suites at $459 a night for an entire week, dinner for $2,500 and $135 per person, bringing the wedding total to $836,000. They also blocked up Center Street in Philadelphia, so Linda's son-in-law could ride down on a white horse to pick up his bride. Moral of the story? Don't judge a book by its cover. Linda's daughter married a prince of India, and the Philadelphia Marriott received 3 additional Indian weddings as a result.
That's pretty awesome, isn't it? So how many times have you shown up at a networking event or class or anything and you wondered, what does this person have to offer me? And then you were pleasantly surprised when you took the time. That's a pretty powerful example. True story. Kim lives in Salt Lake City now. So the amazing thing that we get to do in this life is give people a chance and to reach out of our comfort zones, to stretch a little bit more. And the neat thing is that when we do this, and we do it with a passion and a purpose and a vision, we can actually get paid for it. Did you know that my whole business now is building relationships and getting paid for it every single day? I have residual income built on relationships. Not that I'm using my friends to make money, but I've offered them something that's of value, and I get a commission of the sale every time they use the product that I've sold them. There's definitely so many different ways to make money in this world, and relationships are the base of that. The Tanners, the Blazers, every single one of your professors have had success in this life because of the relationships of somebody who introduced them to someone else who gave them a job or gave them an opportunity or opened a door for them. And every time that I have wondered and been questioned my own purpose and why things aren't working or why there's an obstacle in my way, and I've gotten clear that I was on the right path, but there was still a block, it just took a little bit more time, a little more patience, and a little more prayers, and then God would open a door, and usually that was through another person. And I know that every success I've had in business, for sure, has happened because of a result of a relationship who I now call a friend. So, be your best self, and the notes from this are actually on my website, startupprincess.com, and the post is called 10 Tips for Being a Power, I think it's called The Power of Networking, something like that, 10 tips. So if you want to go to my website and kind of get those reviews and see other notes that I included, that's also a tip, by the way, if you're a speaker, to have people go to your website. And then any of you women entrepreneurs or any of you that know women entrepreneurs, please sign up for our email list. It's free. We have free webinars. We do a Twitter chat every Wednesday. Actually, it's going to be on Tuesdays now. I host those. And there's all kinds of information that you can get for free, resources. And it's just been my pleasure to share with you these thoughts. And then we're going to take a little bit of Q&A, and then we have to wrap up. So, any questions? Come on, we only have 5 minutes. Who has a question? Brother Blazer?
In the network marketing, can you explain a little more about that, how it works, how the commission schedules work in network marketing?
Okay, yeah, just briefly. Briefly, I'll talk about network marketing. So basically, you get a commission based on the sale and depending on where that person is on your team. And why I was attracted to it was I used to be charging $150 an hour for coaching, but now I coach my leaders in the work that I do for free, and then the company basically pays me a percentage of their success. And in my previous work, when I was just coaching entrepreneurs and charging an hourly rate, no one ever offered to give me an equity of their company. And that would be more of like an angel investor or a venture capitalist, which is one of my goals. But in this case, within network marketing, when I'm invested in their success and I help them, then I get paid a percentage of that for life. So I think it's really a win-win if you love to coach. Any other questions, just more specifically about network, actually like doing networking with building relationships?
And so say we go into a big network marketing event, and then, could you say it's more quality and the quantity? Like, instead of trying to meet like 1,000 people and trying to... Okay, so just an actual network event. So like say you're at a business national, what is it, BNI, what is that? Business Network International Group, or say you're at Rotary Club, or a lot of you are in SIFE, okay, you want to get to know people there. And he said, is it quantity or is it quality, is basically you're saying. And always quality, always. One of my biggest failures as I was trying to figure out how to network with other people was my first day at BYU in Provo. I had a leadership scholarship, and I literally tried to meet every single person in the room. I was so excited to be there, and I was just like, I want to make everyone my friend, and I just was so naive. And someone stopped me who knew me, and he's like, Kelly, you look like you're running for president. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. I don't want to come across that way, but that's how it looks to other people if you're trying to get to know every single person. And so just concentrate on your little group and just getting to know them more deeply instead of like everyone. Because I would much rather have 2 or 3 relationships in the room than hardly knowing everybody. So any other questions? So at this stage in life, while you're preparing to go out into the business world, I can't overestimate the value of your relationships with your professors. I have had amazing success because of relationships of the professors I know at BYU Provo, and also just in other areas of education. And even in high school, I kept in touch with some of my teachers there, and they knew that I was sincere about my desire to do certain things, that I had goals. They would look out for me. And your professors are one of the most networked people here. So why don't you get to know them and get to know, what successes that they've had, and maybe ask them questions and ask them for mentoring on the side. Go to their office hours. Who else do you know who's an influencer? Chances are you're here because of an influencer in your life. So go back to that person, keep in touch, write thank you notes. When you go beyond your little circle of friends and you go back to your mentors and your influencers, then that's when you're going to have the most success because you're all looking out for each other. So my time's up, and I'm okay. So that's just my tip on that.
Actually, I want to mention something. Because we're having this conference coming up, can you talk a little bit about elevator pitches and how you can get succinctly some of the ideas for a startup, for instance? Okay, so that is a really key thing. If you are at a networking event, you need to have an elevator pitch. It's like a 30-second, I am the founder of this and I do this. Or I am driven and passionate about this and I'm here for this. Just so people know why you're there and, basically it is. And so an elevator pitch is just basically a very concise way to express yourself about what you do. And you want to create something that draws piqued interest. And so sometimes I say, I am the founder of Startup Princess, and I help women to build relationships, connect, and provide them resources. And so people will say, well, how do you do that? And so then you want them to ask the second question. Or you just even say, I'm passionate about natural health, and I provide people with free hand massages. Let me know if you're interested in one.
you know, and then people are like, okay, you know, or whatever it is. And if you give them an invitation, then they either bite or not, right? So there's lots of different ways, but you definitely want to work on your little pitch, because if you don't have a pitch and you have this long rambling explanation of what you do, you've lost them, completely lost them. But in a competition setting, you know, you usually have like 2 or 3 minutes, not a realistic kind of times, you know, that you would have in a real setting, but it gives you a chance to really define what you're doing, express your passion, let people know why you're prepared to do and run this, this venture, and then, you know, as they come back to you with the questions, because undoubtedly the competitions are going to have questions, you know, you'll have more opportunities to explain that venture further. So, but I would love to, you know, work with anybody who wants to do the competitions. It's a real passion of mine. It's actually why I even started Start Princess, is because when the competitions were over, I'm like, oh, I needed to be around these entrepreneurs. They're so much fun. There's so much innovation. And so I wanted to give back. And so 6 years ago when I started Startup Princess, it was because there was a lack of resources available specifically for women entrepreneurs. And it's been a tremendous joy and blessing. And some of my best friends have come from just showing up to serve other women. And so if you're interested in anything else that I can do to help, let me know. Anyone else have a question? Melinda?
What influenced you to serve the orphans?
Oh, okay. So I served a mission in Bulgaria, and I had the opportunity to work as, we do our volunteer hours as missionaries. And there's different orphanages there that have so many different needs. And so when I went back after a while, some companions of mine were really working on how we can make some changes there. And so they invited me to participate and to help start the organization. We started it almost 9 years ago, and I was involved in the very early stages of getting it started. It's a 501c3 here in the United States, and is also recognized as a nonprofit legally in the country of Bulgaria. So we have employees there that get full-time salary work and also part-time salary work. And one of my favorite things is that we hire grandmas to go to orphanages and hold babies, because the ratio of babies to staff at orphanages is usually 15 or 20 babies to 1. And when we supplement that with more grandmas or volunteers or whatever that we can to help hold more babies, they get more attention, and then they have less of the neglected you know, emotions, and it helps the overall state of the emotional, mental needs of the child, also physical. And so that's one of the things we do, but they've done countless surgeries to save lives with hydrocephalus and supplementing nutrition, and it's just, you know, you just have a passion and you figure out how to do it and get it done. And my trainer, Deborah Gardner, is the executive director here in the United States, and she's a stay-at-home mom. She runs the whole thing 1 day a week for 8 hours. And so if you think you don't have time, she has 5 kids and does 1 day a week she dedicates to running this whole organization. So sometimes the organizations don't have to take a lot of time, but you have the right people in place, and then it can make it run. So you don't have to be, you know, always thinking you have to have lots of time to do service and work. It's great. Any other questions?
What do you say is the best events to do networking?
The best events to do networking, so you said. I really recommend conferences in your industry, or expos, those kinds of things. A couple years ago, I was looking for a new leader for my company, and I went to a women's blogging conference, because there was 350 dynamic, amazing, creative, passionate women there who were all broke. And so I wanted to find one that actually wanted to make money, because the joke is in blogging, you only make enough to pay for your shoes. And so I went there, and I just talked and talked and talked to lots of different women, and I got to know them. And on the very last day of the 3-day conference, I met one of my strongest leaders now in my company. And it's just getting to know people and being friends. But I love conferences, because also cruises are good. Cruises are fabulous for networking.
Another answer to that, not that you do business at church, but I have a son who graduated from Harvard, and his boss, who's now his boss, went to a So we went back to Texas, and this guy was in North Carolina, whatever, and got this job because of the networking at church.
That is a good point. I mean, at church, we show up to love each other and serve and nurture. Well, that's the foundation of all networking, isn't it? And just being genuine brothers and sisters and helping one another is part of just why we're here. And so there is an innate network through the church of loving and supporting one another. And sometimes that does lead to business opportunities, jobs, all kinds of things. And so don't go to church asleep, be there, participate. And you never know, your bishop might be your intro to your next job or your Lisa president. You never know who's watching you and what's going to happen because of who you are. And it's night and day difference of the people in my life who are passionate and driven and excited to be here and the people who just sit back and let life pass them by.
Did you know all along that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Oh, no, yeah. So when I was in high school, I started my first organization to help the homeless. It was called SHARE, and it was to help people in Los Angeles who were homeless. And so I was I'm going to make a difference in the world. I'm going to nonprofit all the way. And I always thought that business was evil. Those were the people who were going to make money. And I'm just going to be nonprofit girl, And I wanted to start a company or an organization to help at-risk teens have more experience in the arts. And I wanted to do that my whole life. And so I went to college to learn about that. And then along the way, I got into PR and marketing and just little by little different things would happen. And then I had an idea to start this princess retail business. And I was like, why not? I've done lots of fun things. Why not try? And so the business plan competition was happening at BYU. And they said, hey, you can make this much money. Let's do it. And I said, no way. I've never taken a business class in my life. And they said, there's this much money to be made. And I said, you bet, I'll do it. And so in 48 hours, I used the Palo Alto business plan software. It was free, and it's just a template. You fill in the blanks. I didn't sleep for 48 hours, and I turned it in, and nobody wanted to be on my team at BYU. They thought, they're the theater grad student. We don't want anything to do with you. And then I got into national competitions, and they're like, huh. and then I won second place nationally. They're like, And so, you just got to show up strong and try what's available to you. There's so many opportunities here with the Willis Center and with this certificate program. You never know. And I would have never have a million years said, I'm going to start an organization to help women entrepreneurs because I didn't even know that there was a need for one. But by the time I figured out that there wasn't a lot available, then that need became apparent and I fulfilled that need. And so that's also one of the main principles, right, of entrepreneurship is recognizing a need, figuring out how to problem solve, and going forward. Okay, last question, anybody? Anybody? Yep.
This isn't a question, but I just wanted to say that the reason that Kelly and her husband even got here, the way that they even got here, is because Kelly came to help her friend, Linda, with her wedding at Sister Johnson's house, Pam and Wynn Johnson, last year. So the Johnsons were helping her, and then Kelly came to help her, and while they were working in the kitchen, they started talking, and that's how the Andersons even got
Yeah, I was going to mention that it is funny how things happen, and so I'm here because of Melinda, who met Matt, it's just like all these different people, and Melinda introduced us to the Johnsons, who introduced us to the Tanners, who introduced us to so things just are like this massive web network, and you just never know who your next intro is going to be, and who's going to say something. Just crazy things have happened to me that I would never have imagined, and it's because of just moving forward, deciding that I want to make a contribution, I want to live my life, live my dreams, and just little things, just a little friend here or a little door opens there, and it keeps moving forward. And so those relationships are absolutely key, and don't underestimate what a roommate, what potential that could be, because maybe the roommate's friend or the roommate's parent. So anyways, I think you get it. But the number one thing is remember to be a friend and to understand that why we're here is to serve and to love. And I'm really excited I get to serve you this year and be a part of this campus. It's a huge honor for me, and it's a dream of mine to be teaching and to sharing and to be on a mission at this time in my life. It's a service mission, part-time. And how many 39-year-olds do you know that get to do that? I feel really lucky, and it's because of a root in a relationship. And so, thank you. Mahalo.